Welcome. This is your host, Heidi Watson, on Two Tier Canada, the podcast where we explore the ups and downs of private practice in a diverse network of health professionals. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Thank you for listening today. I'm really excited about today's show. We have a new guest. Her name is Courtney Berg, and she is a registered dietitian. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Nutrition, and she owns Vitality Nutrition. She has been in private practice for many years and was recommended by another one of our guest speakers, Lenora Vadaminuk. So I'm very excited to learn about her practice today, and let's see if we can get her on the line. So I'm just calling her now, putting her on speaker.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, Courtney.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you sound kind of windy.
So I was trying to optimize my time and thinking of walking outside, but if that's not very good quality, then I can head back inside.
That's totally fine. I walk and talk at the same time, usually as well.
Okay. Does it sound windy right now?
Nope, it sounds okay.
Okay. Just let me know if you do want me to head inside, and I can do that.
No.
I've always kind of managed my time and thought it would be a nice morning to get some fresh air.
Yeah, is it warm there like it is warm here?
You know, it's not super warm, but it's a little bit refreshing, and yeah, it's not cold. It's a nice temperature.
Nice. I thought we could start off. Why did you pick being a dietitian?
That is a great question, and a question that I get asked a lot, and I'm always reflecting on that. I think for me, nutrition was something that I was interested in at a young age. Like, I can remember ever since I was a little kid watching the Food Network for fun. And actually just over Easter break, my mom and I were looking at these little videos that I would create. So I would take her digital camera, which a digital camera was like a very new thing when I was young, and I would make these little cooking videos. So I think I was always just very interested in food. And then being an athlete through high school, I started to get really interested in nutrition and how it could support what I wanted to do in the sports that I played.
Right.
So by grade 12, I was very, very into nutrition and learning more.
Right. And you're still quite athletic. It sounds like you're still quite living that movement and nutrition, kind of living what you preach.
Yeah, I try to. Honestly, I love fitness and staying active. So right now what I do is CrossFit, and I've been pretty active in the CrossFit community for the past 6 years, and not only just from a health perspective, but also competing in CrossFit as a sport. So I've had a lot of amazing opportunities to travel. Competing this May, I'm traveling to California to compete in what's called the CrossFit Regionals there. So it's really fun. So I like to be able to set those performance goals.
That is so cool.
Motivated. Yeah, so it's fun.
So you said you're really involved in that community. Do you actually provide nutrition coaching and that kind of stuff for your colleagues there as well?
Yes, absolutely. I would say for me, getting started with my private practice, it really flourished in the CrossFit community because I was so active coaching in the community and working out in the community. A lot of people knew me and knew that I was going to school to be a dietitian. So when I graduated, it was a really nice segue into my private practice, having these connections and communities and a network of people who are also very health-minded and willing and wanting to invest in nutrition coaching to support the hard work that they were doing in the gym. Because we all know sometimes, the quote, pretty common one, you can't out-train a bad diet. So I think for people who are investing all that time and energy into the gym, they know that if they want to see results and perform their best and feel their best, they need to invest the same time into nutrition. So it was it's an awesome community to be a part of, and I think it really helped me in getting my business started, having that network.
So when did you graduate? Did you go directly into private afterwards, or what kind of timeline are we talking?
Yeah, pretty much directly into my private practice. So I graduated in 2016, and I had finished my internship in May, and by that time I was feeling pretty drained from internship.
Right.
It was just, anyone that you talk to who goes through an internship is usually just feeling a little bit exhausted by the end, and I definitely felt that way and decided, well, I don't know what I want to do for sure. I don't know what I want to jump into. I'm going to take the summer to coach at a gym in the city at CrossFit Brio. So my friends there were going through a busy time in their lives because they had a new baby on the way, and they really needed someone to help them out with more of a full-time coaching position. So I thought, okay, this is a nice way to just transition out of school, just take the summer to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I was coaching there pretty much full-time. And a member started asking me, like, oh, I know you're a dietitian now. You just finished school. Will you help me with my nutrition? So it kind of just started.
Kind of got like pulled into it.
Yeah. And then, so it was like, okay, this person's having a good experience, and they refer, the next member. And all of a sudden I'm seeing all these clients to the point when I was, by August of that summer, or like September, I was very busy with nutrition coaching and having to tell the owners of the gym, like, I think I need to cut back my hours. I can't keep up with this nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just changed that way until all of a sudden I was hardly coaching at the gym anymore because I was spending so much time nutrition coaching, and from there it transitioned into a business. So I didn't really finish school thinking, yes, I'm going to start a private practice, although I always had that in the back of my mind.
Like as an eventual kind of thing?
Yeah, it kind of just happened organically, and honestly, I'm so grateful because, I wake up and feel very lucky that I get to, I love doing what I do, so it's been great. But I was pretty much jumped right into it unintentionally right out of school.
And just kind of slid into it. So were you intimidated at all by like the business registration pieces, the licensing, any of that kind of piece? How did you find your way down that path?
Yeah, I definitely was a little bit overwhelmed, but luckily, again, in this network of CrossFitters, I find that there's a lot of entrepreneurs. So I was able to lean on people that I knew for support to help me through that process. So
Excellent.
Whether it was just asking little questions, taking it day by day, I mean, I also don't think back to that time, but I think I was a little bit overwhelmed with the registration and how do you actually go about operating a business. And honestly, it's still a learning curve for me. Like every day I feel like I'm navigating new challenges, but try to just focus on getting what I need to get done each day and not getting overwhelmed by the big picture.
Yes, just step by step.
But like I said, I was lucky to be able to ask questions of people who I felt comfortable maybe sounding silly in front of because they were my friends, and I felt that I could ask them any questions and they would help guide me. So that was nice. And
I know that every program across Canada is like slightly different. And so for your program that you did your training through, did you find that they had any business training involved in the program, or was it strictly the nutrition and dietary like education piece?
My program was really good about including a little bit of business courses. For example, taking a mandatory accounting course.
Oh, smart.
But at the back of my mind, I always considered private practice. So when choosing my electives, I tried to direct them towards some business classes. So I did take a few business courses, which was definitely a good idea. Our program, like dietetics, nutrition and dietetics, we cover such a broad range of areas. So for our program, like they know some people might be interested in private practice, so including a little bit of those business classes, but then someone might be interested in,
there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Like they can't fit it all.
I think they do a really good job of fitting little bits and pieces along the way, and then kind of opening up the doors for the student to for lack of a better word, go down a rabbit hole with an area they might be interested. So choosing projects that maybe align with their interests. For example, if I was more interested in sports nutrition, I might try to choose my project to be in line with working with sports dietitians or doing projects related to sports nutrition. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
No, it definitely does. So you've been leaning on your friends that are entrepreneurs for kind of like getting into the business piece. So then do you actually have like a business model, business plan that you're following, or are you just really sticking to that organic growth?
I'm sticking to the organic growth, and I always have ideas for projects or ways that I want to take my business, but I don't have any strict outline of what my business model looks like.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear, because so many people have that perception that you like are not allowed to go into private practice unless you have a business plan and that it's rock solid.
Oh man, I think that's not a great mindset to have, because maybe I had that mindset too, like it all has to be perfect before I get started, but if you wait for the perfect moment or the perfect business plan, you'll never get started. You'll just always feel overwhelmed. So I'm glad that I was forced to jump right into it. Otherwise I probably would have waited for the perfect moment, which honestly will never ever come. So for me, like you said, just jumping into it, dealing with the changes day by day and the challenges is probably a better approach, because I guess like in school when I took business courses, we did have had to set out a business plan, but luckily in my business I didn't need financial support to get started, because it was a service, like it was very little investment for me financially to start up. So having a very detailed business plan wasn't necessary to get a loan or financial support. So it was nice that I could be a little bit more organic, but I know for some businesses they do need that.
Yes, depending on what kind of model they're going for.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about like your startup. So you're already at a gym. So did you have to, do you work out of that same gym now to see your clients, or where do you see them?
That's a great question. So a lot of the coaching that I do is online, which is awesome platform for both me and the client, because it can be really flexible in the way that we communicate. But typically I do see clients in person whenever possible. So I have 2 office locations in Saskatoon. Both are out of CrossFit gyms. So it's a nice spot. I mean, not everyone I work with does CrossFit, so I think it can be a bit intimidating to walk into a CrossFit space. But for clients who do CrossFit, I think it's comfortable for them because
they're familiar.
They're already familiar.
That's very interesting. And so do you have a rental agreement, or like, you don't have to go into that, but I find for people who are really intimidated by this world, they just think of those things as such big barriers.
Yeah, honestly, when I started, it did feel like a bit of a barrier, but I do have rental arrangements with both gyms. Some are based off like a % of my revenue, and others are just like a flat rate. This is
excellent.
The fee for our space. So
nice. I like that you have the 2 going at once.
Yeah. For health professionals or dietitians who are interested in partnering with gyms, I think that it's nice. Sorry if you hear a dog barking in the background.
No worries.
Outside. I think gyms really want to have nutrition support for their clients, because they know when their nutrition is on point, they're going to feel better in the gym. And when they feel better in the gym, they're going to be a more consistent and regular client. So perhaps like talking to these gyms about partnerships, they'd be willing to come to a rental agreement that maybe isn't so overwhelming for the practitioner getting started. So I was lucky that
they're very supportive. And do you find that in the entrepreneurial community that everyone's like really supportive and like just trying to encourage and help people the best that they can? Have you found that in your environment in Saskatoon?
Personally, yes, I have found that. Everyone has been very supportive of my business, so I definitely have no complaints there. I think that in dietetics, there's so much opportunity to specialize in an area. So I know with the dietitians in Saskatoon, who I guess would be seen as like competitors, they don't really feel like competitors because I'm very comfortable referring a client to them if I feel that the client would be a better fit for their business.
For their specialty.
Yeah, so honestly, I feel that everyone has been quite supportive, both from like the gym perspective and then from other dietitians working in private practice in the city.
That's fantastic. And I find that here too, that there's so much demand that there's plenty for everyone. So you don't have that like cutthroat competition kind of environment. It's just kind of warmer and welcoming. So in your time in private practice so far, what belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life in practice?
For me, definitely creating routines as much as possible. And I'm someone who thrives with routine. So knowing that I get my best work done in the morning, I'll try to make sure that there's nothing interfering with my morning routine so that when I wake up, it's kind of jumping right into work and getting the things done that I need to get done. So for me, like having in the past, maybe not knowing that about myself and having sporadic mornings that never looked the same made my day feel a little bit scattered. But being able to have that first part of the day to set myself up for success has been a great routine, both for my business and probably my mental health as well.
Definitely. So do you work in the afternoon still, or do you take the afternoons off?
No, I think a lot of entrepreneurs would be embarrassed to admit how much they work on their business. So I can't say I really take the afternoons off. But what I do is work in the morning, and typically I'll go to the gym in the afternoon on a training day. And that's a nice little break to my day, and also like a chance to network and see a lot of clients at the gym. So just not formally, but just saying hi and being involved in the community.
Being present.
Usually, for me that can be like usually like 2 hours of training time in the afternoon, and then I come back and settle back into work. So that might mean answering more emails or getting ready for in-person meetings that I do in the late afternoon to evening. So I have that little midday fitness break, but then kind of jump right back into what I need to do for the day.
And that's really nice and flexible for your clients, right? Because then you can see them after their work day. It sounds like that's really flexible for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people appreciate being able to meet in the evening, and it works really well for my schedule at this point in my life. So knowing that it's kind of, for me, seeing a client is really fun in the evening, and I know that even if I'm a little bit burnt out from answering emails or doing what I needed to do in the morning, that I can always like have a successful client meeting in the afternoon. So I'd rather time block that time to get to meet with a client when I know that it might be hard to focus on really mentally challenging tasks that I reserve for the morning.
Yeah, I got to get those off the plate first. I can't remember where I read it or heard it, but somebody really smart had said that if your job is to eat frogs, you should eat it first thing in the morning. And if you have to eat 2 frogs, you got to eat the bigger one first.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no,
and I was just,
awesome.
Yes, you got to get those awful things just off the plate first thing in the morning.
And I think, you know what, some people are different. Like, I know one of my friends, she works really, really well late at night. So she would rather, like, from 10 to, like, 1 in the morning.
Oh, my Lord.
The world's sleeping, no one's messaging her. That's when she just hammers through all of her work. So I think just knowing when you work best is the most important thing, and making sure you're time blocking that as your time to get done those harder tasks.
So really, really knowing yourself and then matching who you are rather than any sort of societal expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Especially, and as an entrepreneur, you can do that. I mean, not everyone has the flexibility to stay up till 1 in the morning working with their job, of course. But entrepreneurs get to be a little bit more flexible, which I think can also be a con in that you always can work. But
yes, there is no stop button. There is no person telling you to leave the office.
Yes, exactly.
So when you are feeling overwhelmed or maybe even a little bit trapped in your private practice, what do you do other than those gym breaks?
I think that's something I'm still trying to figure out, to be honest. Yeah, I definitely haven't mastered the art of dealing with those feelings of stress or feeling overwhelmed. I think like something that I'm trying to work on is making sure I am actually doing something for myself each day that's going to reduce my stress or provide some self-care.
Right.
But that's probably the current challenge that I'm overcoming.
Right.
So maybe I'll have a better answer in about a year's time.
Yes, we'll have to get you back on the show again and see how you're doing.
Yeah, things that I love doing are going outside for walks, walking with friends. Summertime is nice because you get that
more outside.
More sunshine. So yeah, I'm working on it. But I think it is a really important consideration for everyone, especially entrepreneurs who are kind of likely to scatter their work all throughout the day and never have those periods of time where they're not working. So you have to figure out a way that you can separate yourself from work, and you have to be more disciplined because no one's telling you work hours are over.
Exactly. Yeah. I think lots of people, I've talked to a few people who are not in private, and they are not in private because they feel they wouldn't be disciplined enough and they wouldn't work enough. But then in the entrepreneurial world, all of the ones that are in private practice, they're all like, I can't stop. So it's definitely a balance concern.
In the background again.
No worries.
No, that's all true. I think, like you said, a lot of people worry that they're not disciplined enough to set those work hours and that they'll procrastinate. But for sure, I find it's the opposite, is how do I turn off? Because there's so many ways for people to contact you and reach out to you, whether it's like Instagram or Facebook. It's really hard to disconnect, and that's something that I haven't done a good job of this past year, and something that I need to reflect and work on moving forward.
And so for being in business for yourself, I'm definitely hearing this theme come through, and I totally agree with it. But let me make it a little bit more explicit. Do you think that a private practice and being an entrepreneur in your own and working for yourself is more working on who you are as a person and developing person skills just as much as it is as developing your business?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Connecting with clients and being personable and being able to empathize and relate is like 80% of the job. So yeah, no, that's such a important reflection and question, and I absolutely agree that, or I absolutely think that it's probably more developing your person-to-person skills and working on yourself so you're able to help clients or even just relate to what they're going through.
Exactly.
And being able to be vulnerable with clients as well, which is hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it makes for a better relationship.
Just a quick interruption here. Two-Tier Canada has been brought to you by the Electronic Health Information System, an electronic health record made specifically for private practitioners. Check out our demo at e-his.ca. Now, let's get back to this month's interview. Can you speak to that a little bit more, that vulnerability piece?
I think that as a dietitian, sometimes, for me anyways, I get caught in thinking, okay, my clients won't trust me unless they see me as perfect. So see me as a perfect eater or only eating like whole nutritious foods that I cooked at home, but realistically that's not relatable for everyone, and I think that they would have better success knowing that I go through challenges too, and that I've been where they've been and I can help them through that. So yeah. I think the expectation that sometimes I've put on myself is that, okay, I have to lead this air quotes perfect lifestyle, when really like that's not the way that I'm going to best help my clients. I'm going to help them by relating to them and understanding what they're going through and giving them strategies that maybe worked for me or other strategies that I know have worked for other clients to help them overcome those challenges.
Yeah, there's lots of media that kind of pushes us into becoming media fake characters rather than the real human beings that we are.
I know, but it's hard to connect to that because I don't think many people feel that they're perfect. So.
No, I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned Instagram. So what platforms are you using, and how do you reach out and find your clients on that online presence?
I think most of my clients come to me via word of mouth, honestly, but I think social media does help support, reaching out to some new clients.
Yeah.
So I mostly use Instagram, and I do push things through to Facebook, but I find that Facebook people maybe aren't quite as interactive, or maybe the algorithms on Facebook are a little bit more tricky to break through, so people aren't always seeing what you post on Facebook. So Instagram is my main social media outlet, as well as referring people to my blog when I might be putting posts on my blog.
And so how do our listeners find your blog and your Instagram? I'll also copy it down into the show notes, but if you could say it out to us.
So on Instagram, you can find me at vitalitynutrition_. And then if you go to vitalitynutrition.ca and click on my blog, you can find all the blogs that I've written over the past 2 years-ish.
Nice.
Yeah,
so you started blogging right away when you started?
Yeah, and I mean, my blog isn't an in-depth blog or reflection of my day-to-day life, but more just like little quick tips, recipes, grocery shopping ideas. So I started to post things on my blog right after my website was up and running. So usually like once a week I'll post.
Nice.
I would like to post more often. So maybe that's a goal for me to set for the future, is connecting with clients through the blog a little bit more, because I know I personally love following blogs.
Yeah?
So yeah.
What other future dreams do you have for your business?
I am currently working on having a members login piece of my website where clients could do an online nutrition challenge.
Ooh.
Be a little bit self-guided. But I've done nutrition challenges with gyms in the past, which have been super fun, and I've loved them. But this would provide an opportunity for clients kind of from wherever to do the nutrition challenge, and it would kind of be based through my website. So right now I'm just looking at the logistics of how that would work on the website, meeting with web designers, and then developing the content for it. So I'm very excited to have that service offered through the website in the future.
And it's kind of, again, with that like organic evolution of things. So you've already been doing it in face-to-face, so you have all your content, and then now you just have to get it into that digital piece.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a really good strategy. Like, I find some people want to go straight into the digital piece, and then they go into that state of overwhelm because it's like, what do I even do? Where do I even start? But like, you've already done it. You have the experience. Now you just have to change the format.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's not... What about any other future dreams or plans that you have?
My future dreams, I'm always torn with my business. Like, I could keep it small, just kind of do my own thing with it, or I could continue to grow it and have more dietitians and coaches working for me. So right now I have a couple of lovely coaches and dietitians who take on clients, and it's been awesome. So I would like to continue to grow my team and be able to mentor and guide and help the team more, and kind of maybe take a step, not a complete step back from working with clients, because I love working with my clients, but maybe just balance that a little bit better, so I'm not feeling completely overwhelmed with being in my business working, and I can take more of a leadership role, and have a little bit more time to work on the business instead of just working with clients one-on-one.
Would you miss it though? Would you miss the clients?
Yes, I would always have to have a client roster, because I love working one-on-one with people.
So just a little bit, but maybe not as much.
Yeah, I just have a tendency of maybe filling my schedule a little bit too full and then feeling overwhelmed. So managing and balancing that a little bit better. I just get so excited to work with people, and then sometimes all of a sudden am working with too many clients at once because I got a little bit overambitious or a little bit excited.
Or it's just too many yeses, right? You want to help, you want to be there, and so you're just yes, and then it's, oh my goodness, where did this come from?
Exactly. I think part of that overwhelmed piece that we talked about in the past is probably learning to say no, when to say yes and when to say no. So I'm a yes person.
Exactly.
So I'm always inclined to say yes. my friends say that I have FOMO, which is fear of missing out. So
I like that.
They make fun of me. So I think I have to lose my FOMO a little bit just to make sure that I'm making choices that are best aligned with my values and what I want to accomplish.
Do you have like a motto or value statement that you have to guide your business at all? Something you write on your mirror every day or anything like that?
You know what? I don't have one to guide my business. I guess my philosophy is just to focus on the day and do the absolute best job that I can do with every client. And so far that's worked well, and that pouring that effort into each relationship has built it up. But I don't have a formal motto that I think about daily in terms of my business. But that's something I should put into words because it's always helpful to have those.
Yeah, and it just kind of helps with that when that moment comes and you're like, should I say yes or should I say no?
Yeah, you know what? I do talk to my clients a lot about defining their core values, which I don't even know if core values would be the right term, but essentially like looking at their life and figuring out what's most important to them. And when you know what's most important to you, it's easier to see, like, does that match up with my core values? If yes, then say yes. If no, then say no. So an example for my life would be fitting in alcohol. Like, a lot of my friends are still really social and like to go out. I'm in my 20s, so I'm young, but I've kind of identified my core values as being health and fitness, my business, and my family and friends. And a lot of times drinking or partying does not align with those three core values. So if I can identify that and know that, then I know that that's a for sure no, which is easier to say in this podcast than when you're in the moment and you're having that pressure of wanting to spend quality time with your friends who might value that. But so it's definitely a challenge,
and that fear of missing out. And so it's like, I want to be there with them, but this doesn't match with my competitions, my nutrition, my everything.
Exactly. So fear of missing out for sure, or fear of judgment. But I have to remind myself, like, I think people respect when you're the type of person who follows through with your values. So even if I'm maybe feeling that I'd be judged, that's more on me than on the people around me. Like, and maybe I'm thinking that they would judge me when really, like, they're not. So
yeah, and that's just more of that person like working on yourself and like self-development and everything. So though, back to your team, I'm very curious, is it like they're independent businesses? Is it a subcontractor model, or do you actually have employees already?
They're contracted, so they're not technically employees, but I contract them.
That's how I like to run mine as well, is all subcontractors, just because I am so obsessed with freedom and independence. And so I totally understand that model as well. Would you ever want the responsibility of employees?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you on that last one. I think it was because of the wind.
No, sorry. Would you ever practice with the responsibility of actually having employees?
I don't know. Honestly, like you said, I love how I have my business modeled right now with the freedom and flexibility on both ends, but perhaps it's something that I would look at in the future if I needed more help or more people to take over, like a management role in the business.
Or maybe a virtual assistant. We just got one of those. I just got one of those recently, and I absolutely love it.
You have to tell me a little bit more about that.
It's like, I should have done it probably like years ago.
Okay, so what is a virtual assistant?
A virtual assistant is exactly what it sounds like. I have this lovely fellow who helps me with editing the podcast, putting it up. He helps with the blog. He helps with like images, social media, anything that you train them to do, they can do for you as long as it's a computer-based thing, and I love, love, love it.
That is awesome. You know what? I'm kind of doing something similar. I met this great gal who is a nutrition student at the University of Saskatchewan, and so she's off for the summer now, so she's going to be helping me on my business as my assistant. So I guess essentially she is my new assistant, and maybe she'll take on a bigger role in the business if she's interested.
Yay!
But she's not virtual because she does live in Saskatoon. But like
she's real.
It's so nice because because a lot of my business is online, she has the flexibility. So if she wants to be at home for days in the summer or at the lake, she can still do that, and we can communicate that way. And she can, I love the flexibility to work wherever, whenever.
Exactly.
So,
I think working from the lake is like one absolutely important thing.
So I'm excited for her to start helping me out, because I think maybe it'll take away a little bit of that overwhelming feeling that I have, because as I train her, she'll be able to do those tasks and help out and take on a larger role in the business.
Definitely.
So I'm glad to hear you've had a good experience.
Yes, and I should have done it a long time ago. So anybody listening, if you're in that swimming overwhelmed state, a assistant is a big deal, makes a big difference.
Yeah, and even outsourcing like other non-business related things, so maybe you can spend a little bit more time in your business where you need to. I know like some people will invest in having a house cleaner or having someone cook their meals. And for me, it's really hard because I think, like I could clean my house. I like cleaning my house. It doesn't take that much time, but then all of a sudden you get busy and maybe it's not getting done as much as you would want, and you would just be better outsourcing it. So yeah,
definitely.
Kind of in line with the assistant is just asking for help and deciding where it's worth investing some money in someone else doing things for you or tasks for you.
And it's really, we are working and we're making such a huge impact on our communities. Like the work that you do is huge for health and long-term chronic disabilities that can happen, and chronic diseases and things. And so not only are you making that health impact on your community, but being an entrepreneur and having a business, you're also creating opportunities for so many other people, right, in the job market.
Yeah.
And so it's a big, big impact, the kind of work that you do.
Well, thanks. Sometimes you forget to think about, like, you're so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget to reflect, like, this does make a difference.
It definitely does. Tell us maybe an unusual habit or absurd thing that you just, like, absolutely love.
That is a good question. And I remember we were talking about these questions before the podcast, and I should have thought to reflect on that a little bit more.
No, because now it's spontaneous.
Probably like my absurd habit of walking, getting my like some people think it's kind of annoying or a funny thing that I'm always talking about getting my steps in my day. So that might be a weird habit. But for me, it's essential to feeling good and feeling recovered from my workouts and getting that fresh air. So I think people tend to make fun of me like for all my walking.
How many steps do you go for?
You know what? It's not an overwhelming number. It's only like 10,000 steps a day. But what I find is being an entrepreneur and spending most of my time at the desk, if I'm not really diligent about getting those steps in wherever I can, I just don't feel my best. And I start to get sore and I start to get injured. So
and posture and everything starts to go out the window.
I don't think it's an unusual habit, but I think it's just something that people maybe are like, oh, Courtney and her steps.
No, I think it's good. It's like the Fitbit trend. Everybody loves them.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought that stuff was so silly. Like, oh my goodness, like monitoring your steps, that's just seems so silly. But then now that when I became aware of how little I was actually moving around in a day, I found it to be crazy. Like considering that I would classify myself as an athlete with what I do at the gym, but honestly, like the movement in my day outside of those 2 hours at the gym was so sad and definitely not supporting my health goals. So when I became aware of that, I'm like, oh, actually, this Fitbit trend can be pretty helpful for people just to raise awareness of how little they might be moving in the day.
And to take action.
Yeah.
Rather than like just turning the pedometer off on your phone or giving the Fitbit away.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, I guess technology, I don't know, sometimes we don't really need a Fitbit to tell us that we need to move more, but if it helps someone become more aware, then go for it.
Yeah. Have your eyes open to how little you move kind of thing.
Yeah.
I am very curious. Have you found that your business has impacted your family at all? Good or bad? Like your family, immediate friends group, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I suppose it has affected my, honestly, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I feel like I would have to ask them how they think that it's affected them. I find that my family and certainly my friends are extremely supportive of what I do. So that's amazing. And I think like they've probably become more interested in nutrition through me. My friends also support me with my goals. So I think it's both sides.
That is fantastic. Have you ever run into anyone who felt that you were too young? Like, I absolutely love that you're in your 20s and you're doing this. That's so fantastic, such a leader in your profession. But have you ever bumped into that negative person that's kind of like, oh, you're really young?
Not so much. I'm sure, like, maybe an expectation I have of myself initially was, oh, I should have so much experience before I start. But really, like, my experience, like, it's just kind of accumulating experiences as you go. So I'm happy that I jumped in and didn't wait for more experience because, like I said, that perfect moment just won't come. But no, I think people have mostly been really supportive that I've been young, and they say that I'm brave for jumping right into it. So yeah, definitely support more than discouragement or people saying that maybe I should have waited to be a little bit older or have some more experience.
And support from your family, that's so good. That's so positive.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was scared that my family would want me to jump into a role that was maybe a little bit more stable, like working for the health region, but they were very supportive of me starting my own business.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a thought. It was a good one and now it's gone. So you're 2 years into this, right? What is your business registered as? Like, did you incorporate, or is it sole proprietorship? Like, what'd you go with?
Sole proprietorship right now. Something that I have to discuss with my accountant and look at in the future to determine what direction it'll go.
Right, because there is a perfect time to go into like a corporate structure. You know, when you've got enough funds that are just going to sit in the business for a tax reason, that's like the perfect time to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then if you build like a building and have 50 employees, you know, next year, that might be different though.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of jumping back to that friends question and how my friends have affected me. Luckily, I have a very diverse friend group. Again, I think because I'm so involved in the CrossFit community and there's so many different types of people who do CrossFit, so I'm well connected. So my accountant is actually a really close friend of mine. So it's nice to be able to ask her those types of questions on a daily basis. And again, being able to ask those questions that I maybe feel silly for asking. So yeah, those are nice because I can have conversations with her about what that right time would be.
Right. That is fantastic. And it's not like a big schedule with the accountant and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit
It's
more
just
relaxed.
coffee.
Yeah.
So last question, so you can be free for the rest of your day to go back to your amazing business. What advice would you have given to yourself the day before you, like before private practice, before all this happened, that kind of thing? So I don't know where that moment would have been for you, if you were still a student then, or if you'd already graduated. Like, what would you tell yourself if you could have gone back in time?
If I could go back in time, I would tell myself, and this is something we talked a little bit about throughout the podcast, is to just focus on today. Don't get overwhelmed by next week, next month, next year, or where your business should be. Just make your list. What can you do today? What do you need to do today? And check off those items, and then worry about tomorrow when it comes. I think for me that helps to make me feel efficient and accomplished and to avoid that overwhelmed feeling as much as possible. So yeah, deal with the day, worry about tomorrow, just do the best that you can in this moment, and that'll lead to amazing things and amazing accomplishments and outcomes when you combine those days into weeks and months and years.
Definitely. That's fantastic. Yeah. Being present.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Your wisdom that is very valuable, and I'm excited for other people to hear this podcast and like see where you're at. I'll put all of your information in the show notes so people can get a hold of you. Yes, and just thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast. I think it's so exciting to be on a podcast because I love listening to them. And it was kind of funny because I was thinking like, oh, I'd love to be on a podcast. And then you reached out to me and my friend started a podcast. So in the past week, I've been in 2 podcasts, which is
that's awesome.
Kind of funny. I guess I must have put some type of positive vibe out into the universe about podcasts. Then all of a sudden these opportunities came.
And that's totally how it works. And the opportunities are just endless.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm excited to listen to other episodes of your podcast. And like I said, if people want to contact me and inquire about nutrition coaching, they can find me at vitalitynutrition.ca.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a great rest of your walk.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Courtney. She's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. Like we said, make sure you check all of the show notes for information on how to get a hold of her. And thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. We'll talk to you again next month, and just make a great day out there, you guys.